Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Good Friday. Hope you're all well. So I just wanted to talk about, when people who haven't had cancer, haven't been diagnosed with cancer, may not understand really what happens when you're told you've got cancer. In some cases, I'm sure it's different to other cases. I just want to explain how me personally I felt. So for me being diagnosed, there was some sort of relief that there was something found, in the sense of I felt in my gut I had cancer. I really felt it. And I had this fear of being undiagnosed. So the fact that they found cancer for them was a surprise. And for me, it wasn't really a surprise. Now, I probably did go into shock and didn't realize it at the time. But you kind of get this fear over you. But it's not like the fears that people would expect you to have. Like, for example, for me, it was just, my fear was, how am I going to work? How am I going to, because I was really, really, really tired, really unwell. I was told that it would be a pretty quick process in the sense of operation, radiotherapy, etc. All going well. That's the process. I mean, obviously things can change in between, which it did, because they found a lump and then that had to be checked as well, a second lump. But so for me, it was more about, survival, practicalities, practical survival, finance. So, I just, because I had been looking for work and I was open to all these new opportunities, and the type of work I was looking for would be, quite, long hours, a lot of responsibility, etc. And I just knew with this fatigue, I just, how do I explain this? It was like my head wasn't working properly. I was in this constant state of anxiety slash fatigue. So I don't know, is that what anxiety is? Is that what, fatigue, does that cause anxiety? Does anxiety cause fatigue? I had both, and it was very blurry and fuzzy. And, and now they're telling me I have cancer, and this is the process, and it'll be over the next few weeks. And I think obviously a lot of people who find out they've cancer they continue working, and that's fine. And I would have done so if I had been working. And then you take time off for your operation and for recovery and all of that. And I'm sure people have done that all over the world for a very long time. But imagine trying to go for a job. Because then I was thinking, I can do, I don't know, we'll say walking a dog or cleaning or whatever. I was thinking, I can do some other type of work. I can work in a cafe, I could work in a local shop. But then I was thinking, Niamh, you're not going to be able to lift things. How do you tell your boss, well, I can't carry that, and I can't lift that, and I can't do this, and I can't. And what are you going to do when someday you're sick, and then you go for your operation, and then you're, I'm not well afterwards, and then, all of that type of stuff. So I thought, I have been a HR manager myself, and I know how much it costs to train up somebody and the process of interviewing and all of that. And I didn't want to put an employer through that. And also, I wouldn't be honest if I was going for a job and all that. So then I'm thinking, okay, well, now I can't work, but it'll only be a little while. It'll only be, they're telling me it's going to be a really quick process, which obviously it isn't. So it all started in December. We're now April, and my operation, as you know, is the 24th. And then after the operation, I have to wait, I don't know, I'm going to say 10 days. I really don't know. I'm making that up, kind of 10 days, 2 weeks maybe, to find out if the rest of the cells are okay, and the lymph nodes under the arm that they'll check. And then if they are, that's fine. Then I wait 2 months to heal before my radiotherapy, and if not, to go in for a second operation. And please God, that won't happen. But, I'm kind of, so for me, it's not even, there was a lot of, I think for me, and it depends on different personalities. I have a wonderful friend here, a beautiful friend who I met actually a year ago, what day is today? Yesterday, a year ago, I met her for the first time. And I'm very, very close to her, and she's such a beautiful woman. And she's just finished all her treatment. She was diagnosed, I think, last October, and she's just finished all her treatment and all of that. And we're very different. We're so different. She has been my rock, in the sense of we can talk to each other and things like that. And she doesn't really want to know the ins and outs of her treatment. She doesn't want to know what exactly it is and what will happen if her chemo doesn't work, and if her radiotherapy doesn't work. And she doesn't want to. She's just doing what they tell her. Constantly. Sorry, I'm just going to turn that off because there's flashing in the background. And I'm the opposite. I was even Googling again exactly what I have, and it's estrogen positive, like not estrogen and progesterone, very high. It's 7 and 7. It's 7 out of 8. There's a scale 1 to 8 with estrogen, and the higher the number, the more estrogen or progesterone you have. But it means that the patient will be able to use the anti-estrogen and anti-progesterone medication, and that really works. And it means I have a lot of estrogen and all of that. Anyway, I was Googling all that today, and then the other bit was, there's another part of it as well. And I was like, oh, there's 3 little bits that kind of make up my cancer. And the other bit was, it's slow growing. My one's slow growing. But the probability of it coming back, I said this before, is higher than other cancers. And recurring, as they would say. But I need to know that. I like to know everything. I love information. It makes me feel safe. I've always just been a person that needs more information. I don't know if any of my classmates out there are watching, but we could be in class and the teacher would say, we'd all be dying to go, and then the teacher would say, right, that's it, we're finished now. Any more questions? And everyone would be grabbing their bag, and I'd say, sorry, can I just ask one more thing? And people were like, whoa. So I've always been into information, hungry for information. And my friend who has cancer doesn't want to know the details. Her husband does, she doesn't, and she finds it very uncomfortable when he's beside her asking questions. So for her, I'm sure she has children and she has grandchildren and she has a husband and loads of friends. Very popular, beautiful woman. So her fear is just, it's like survival. It's like what I would consider, when I look at somebody, that's what they find out they have cancer, they fear they're going to die. The doctor says, look, your chances are really good, and they believe that, and they do what they're told, and they're just hoping for the best. They're in fear, but they're in hope. Whereas with me, I was kind of like thinking, with my situation with my family and not having contact, this sounds really bad, but I was like, maybe this is the way it's meant to be. Maybe, I'm meant to be with my dad in heaven. Maybe I'm meant to be gone. Maybe this is it. Maybe God feels she's suffered enough. She's gone through enough. She can't do any more emotional pain. She's literally at her limit. I'm just going to zap her up now. And I thought, then I went into this very gracious, quiet, pensive kind of like, I don't know, stage of, I was just peaceful. I was accepting. I was like, okay, well, I've wanted to go to be with Holy God and the angels since I was 4. And, maybe it's time. And I really kind of thought, okay, this is it. And I prayed. I started praying a lot. I was doing novenas, I was doing everything. And it was actually really mainly for my mum, and then a little bit for me, in the sense of, it was like praying for my mum that she's peace in her heart, peace in her soul, she's comfortable, and she feels safe, and she knows that I love her, and she knows that I'm in her heart every second of every day, and I'm holding her every second of every day. And I wanted her to know that if she has moments of clarity about me, that I know she adores me, and I know I'm in her heart, and I know she's holding me. So that was mainly, it was about my mum's well-being, in her mind and in her heart, and obviously physically, and that she's just a complete peace. And I just prayed for peace in my heart around my mother, and not being with her, not being around her, which is really, really difficult for me. Like, heartbreaking. Like, my heart is actually genuinely broken. My heart has been broken 100 times more. Genuinely, hand on heart. My heart has been broken so many times. I remember my friend telling me that there's a thing that when your heart is actually broken, like on an emotional level, something changes in the chemicals and it hardens or something. So that's like fact. So, I always believe that people who have heart attacks have a broken heart, genuinely. So if you know of anyone who's had a heart attack, or, suffers with their heart, like, have they gone through a lot of pain? Have they had their heart broken? Are they broken and sad and grieving, and what have they gone through? Really. Then there's the thing that cancer is anger. And I kept saying the whole time, please God, take away my anger. And I kept saying, like, this anger is going to kill me. And it's not really, like, the other side of anger is sadness, grief, loss. So, anger is that hard feeling, and the vulnerable feeling under anger is sadness. So I knew I was really sad all the time, sad, broken, over my mum, like primarily my mum. Then not having contact with my family for a long time. This isn't a new thing. And feeling like, just always wondering, what have I done? Like, what have I done wrong? And my cat, my lovely cat Weston, who I absolutely idolized. And then just lots of things, I have a lot of grief in my life, and have. And then I think all the anger was just coming out. It was there. I wasn't acting out or anything like that, but it was there. And I know that that is not good for your health. It is not good for you. And anyone who I'm friends with who are angry and raging about certain situations, and it's ongoing, I always say to them, please try and work on your anger, work on your feelings, work on what's upsetting you, because it's going to kill you. You're going to get cancer. I would say that to one particular friend of mine all the time. But so for me, I was relieved they'd caught it. I felt very lucky that under the circumstances, with whatever, I was graced and blessed with, the way they dealt with it here. I have to say, in my experience with the NHS, with the doctors and nurses, they just have been amazing, except mixing up my operation date, which has peeved me. But, I have to trust that that's for a reason. There's a reason. Anyway, I can't get angry about that. And I'm not angry. I was upset. I was genuinely a little bit upset over that. But the thing is, anyway, you know, then the thing is around finance. And I did contact an organisation and said, you know, it's like support people with cancer. And I said to them, like, how am I going to survive? Like, literally, how am I going to survive? Like, I could survive, you know, a few weeks or whatever, but I can't survive for, like you're saying, this is ongoing and I don't know how long it's going to be. And I'm just afraid of being homeless. I'm afraid of having no home, not being able to pay my rent, having no home. And then, you know, my thing was when I was in Ireland before I came here, I didn't really have a proper kitchen where I was living before this particular house. I was living in a lodge in my job, and it was filthy. And anyway, it took me a long time to clean it. I know I said that before, but it just wasn't a comfortable kitchen to work in. It just didn't have counter spaces. It was just not very nice. So I didn't really, and plus we got meals in work. So I ate those, and they were, food's awful and not healthy. So the thing was, anyway, I was losing kind of that thing. I used to do juicing all the time. I'm vegan, as most people know, and I do cheat a little bit, an odd time with like a piece of dessert or something like that. People know that. An odd time, like, you know, but I'm, you know, all my products, my makeup, any creams I don't have leather, anything, like, you know, a lot of my stuff, I do my best, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not perfect by any means. So please don't judge me if you're 1000% vegan, because I do my best. I genuinely do, with everything I do, and I'm feeding animals left, right, and center, and all the rest. But anyway, so I was just so stressed about that, and that was my thing. I said, you know what, I like, if I died, it would actually be easier, because then I don't have to worry about money. And then I was like, you know, and I wasn't saying it like this, smiling the way I'm telling you, but I was genuinely, that was my biggest fear, was, how am I going to do this practically? I have to feed a cat, I have to feed a dog, I have like a home, I need a home, I have a car, how do I get to my appointments, fill the car with diesel, and the thing is, it's not as if, like, you know, I chose, you know, I did choose where I live, and I love my home and all of that. But I did choose it to be near my job, but it is very far from anywhere, really, really far. So it's not very practical where I am, to be honest. And to get anywhere is very far. Like, literally, to get to the places that I go most, there are 30 miles, 31 miles to basically where you kind of go for dog food and cat food, and if you want anything, you know, so you can Google that, West Linton to Livingston. That's where I go. So anyway, so basically, there's a lot of different things, you know. Then I was thinking about my will, and oh God, I've stuff at home, and what'll I do, and who will I, you know, not give stuff to. I don't really have anything, to be honest. But then I was thinking, like, who's going to arrange my funeral? Seriously, like, who is actually going to arrange my funeral? So I had this fabulous idea, and I contacted an ex-boyfriend of mine, and I said to him, you know, could I just ask you something, that if anything ever happens to me, would you organise my funeral? He said he would, and came to visit me to go through stuff, and of course told me then that he wanted to be in a relationship with me, and I didn't want to be in a relationship with him. And anyway, then he went, gone. Like, I was like, you know, I thought we were friends. Okay, obviously not. Anyway, he's gone. So I just didn't want to burden people who would be really emotional about it, you know, about it. So the truth is, it's like, you know, I was saying, you know, I just want a cardboard. Cardboard's fine for me. Wicker is actually luxurious. Cardboard box, you know, and ashes, and that's fine. And sprinkle me anywhere, Obviously there's places I do like, but then that's fine and everything. You think of that, and I did say I definitely wanted a Catholic mass. I definitely want a Catholic mass, because I do believe in the ritual of mass, and it's very precious for me. And I'm not a constant churchgoer, but I do pray and I do believe, and most of the time, not all of the time. So that was that, and then it's like, I can't leave my cat and my dog. What am I going to do about my cat and my dog? Like, everything else is just stuff. Who cares? I mean, genuinely, hand on heart, I don't have like jewelry, or I've nothing. To be honest, I've a few bits and pieces, clothes that I don't even know if you could send to the charity shop. I jest, but like, I can't imagine being a mother and having to leave her children, or a father. And in my case, my dad left when I was 12. He died of cancer. And that has shaped my whole life. Every decision I've ever made has been kind of like cause and effect. You know what I mean? I think maybe tomorrow I'll do something on my dad's death. I think that would be a good thing to talk about, especially Easter, and just, yeah, I don't know. So anyway, I'm diverting. I'm just thinking of my dad. He still has a huge effect on me. I still miss him. But I just want to say that, getting cancer there's many things to worry about. It's leaving loved ones behind, leaving your pets behind. It's about who's going to pay for a funeral if you don't have the money. Who's going to, where are you even going to, like, thank God for, cremation. Sorry, I was trying to remember the word. Because I would actually love to go in with my dad's mum and dad and my brother John. And I have to talk about John as well. And I will talk about John. I'd love to go in because there's room in their grave in Mount Jerome in Dublin. But my dad is the name. And I rang during COVID and they said, you'll have to get permission from your mum. And I said, that's great. I'll get permission from my mum. I only wanted for me to go into the grave if something happened, because we were all thinking of these things during COVID. And anyway, then he said you have to get all your siblings to sign. So I just didn't want to go there and ask them to sign for me to go in. I'm not very good at confrontation. I'm not very good at, if somebody said no or whatever, how I'd feel. So that's it. It's you start thinking about things like that, and I've been offered actually a free will, and I really thought, God, what if I go in for this operation and then something happens? I'm on 23 minutes. Gosh, I better go. But anyway, I just wanted to say that it's not just about cancer. It's about, there's a lot of different things you worry about, like people treat you differently. Some people have, asked how I am, and I tell them that I've cancer, and then they're gone. And then some people, just, it's almost like it's contagious, and I'm sure I get this. I'm sure for some people it might trigger them and frighten them, and I get it. I don't judge it. So if there's anyone out there watching this who has disappeared, that is okay. I 100% get it. And if that helps you feel safer, do it, because you need to protect yourself, and you need to honor how you feel around all of this. And And I know, you know, for me, when I would hear somebody has cancer, it does trigger me. And it also, cancer equals death to me, and cancer equals, you know, not maybe not immediate death, but eventual death. After lots of trying to stay alive. That's kind of where my head goes, even though there are loads of people who have survived cancer, and I know they do, and I know, and then you have some people say, oh, but I know somebody who had the same cancer as you, and that was 5 years ago, and they're still alive. And in my head I'm going, oh my God, I'm only like 52, I don't, you know, have 5 years. But you know, I am being practical. I do know that this is like very common to come back again and again. And I just hope to God that I can leave some legacy. I haven't left children behind, which is very painful for me. That's where a lot of my grief comes. I'll talk about that again as well, about not having children. That's huge. That's been a huge thing in my life as well. And you know, you think, I'm leaving nothing behind. Like when I go 100 years later, no one will remember me. But one thing I do want to leave behind is that people I have met and people I have, you know, had communication with and connection with have had something positive from me, because all I've ever wanted in my whole life is for people to feel good and the world to be a lovely place. And I hate thinking of anyone suffering, anyone, any being, any nature, Mother Earth, animals, the vulnerable, the elderly. You know, I just can't bear to think of anyone suffering. And I've always wanted to take suffering away. And I hope to God that I have done that. And I know in some cases I have, you know, but so please God, you know, I have a few years left in me and I can make a difference in that time. I'd like to make a difference. And it's nice to make a difference, but I think you have to have some sort of courage and self-esteem sometimes. And I have, you know, I have two sides of the coin. There's two sides to me. There's a really confident, quietly confident, you know, strong girl. And then the other side is insecure and I'd never say weak, but vulnerable. So I'm both, and they both play a role. I don't have the strong girl one day and the vulnerable girl the next. They literally are like that all the time. So you'll always see both in me. I don't know really what I was trying to say. I do know what I was trying to say, but I don't know if I got it across clearly. I hope I have, but I just want to say that being diagnosed with cancer doesn't just mean, oh, you've cancer and you're just dealing with the cancer. It's a lot more than that. You're dealing with other people's feelings. You're trying to minimize it to some people. I did that. I minimized it. I kept saying it's fine. I kept laughing it off, or a joke about oh, sure, look, in 3 months' time I won't be here. And I joked to kind of make light of it for myself, and I kept saying, minimizing it. And then people didn't think I had cancer. They didn't even think I'd been diagnosed, because they kept saying, oh, I didn't think you were, because you were, you know, laughing. And so then I had to kind of make it more serious. And then people were upset. And I'm like, oh God, that's the last thing I want, is to upset people. So, and I feel responsible for how other people feel. That's my codependency. But I want people to be okay. And that's really important to me. And yeah, so that's it. So have a fabulous Easter weekend with your families, with your friends. And, you know, and if you don't have families and you don't have friends, just come back to me. I'll be on this again. So I'll talk to you soon. And thanks for listening. Take care. Happy Easter.